Project management concepts may seem tough at times, but not to worry. You have a coach who makes it as easy as ABC. Here he is to set things straight for you. Your friend, Phil.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to part 3 of the basics of project management. In our last session, we had a few questions that we took, and now we're going to take a look at our project schedule in a little bit more detail. So let's talk about Microsoft Project for a second. If you are a project manager and you have not picked up this tool, try to look at it, try to master it, I want to encourage you, please do so. This is one of the best tools, classic tools out there for project managers. When I started as a project manager, this was one of the very first things that I had to pick up because my job demanded it. Microsoft Project is a great way of you visualizing what exactly is happening on the project. As you can see here, we've got various tasks. You can see the people assigned to the tasks. You can see the start times and the end times, and you would know just by looking at this how well you're doing. In addition to that, you can also insert a progress percent complete field, and your percent complete field enables you to track each task. Note that we've got tasks that you can roll up like so, or you can open them up, and then you can type in your percent completes for each one. Now, it gets a little bit more scientific than this, but the really cool thing is the visualization. So take a look at this one right here. You can see I've typed in 15%, and you can see that tiny little bar inside the bigger bar showing you what percent complete you are. If I type in another number here, you can see the bar goes from that 15% to 85% and so on. So this is a great way for you to track your project, for you to visualize what is going on, and for you to share that information. And expanding the fields here, you can see there are all sorts of fields, predecessors. You can actually go as far as costing out each task on the project. And this was the order of the day in a previous job I was on. This is all I did. Microsoft Project, scheduling, reporting, tracking, everything was resource loaded, cost loaded, and this tool, I tell you, is a phenomenal tool. It could be scaled up, it could be scaled down. You can make it very simple, you can make it milestone oriented. But if you're looking at getting into project management, I highly recommend picking up not just any old scheduling tool, but go through the rites of passage. Go through Microsoft Project first, okay? And then pick up other scheduling tools, because this tool, it is so much in line with what is talked about in the Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide. It's really smack dab in line with it. Another thing that I really like about MS Project is the visualizations of relationships. So if I make this a little bit bigger on the right hand side, so you can see the Gantt chart view a little bit more, you can see the dependencies. You see that? As simple as that. As simple as that. You can see these finish to start relationships and so on. And these are some of the things project managers do. Let me show you a quick example here. If I have a few tasks, I can show you visualizations of these tasks. You see, I can show you, for example, let's put in a few durations. And if I begin to link, if I want to link these tasks, let's link them to what is happening up there. So predecessor, I'm going to make the predecessor number 23. As simple as that. Just hook it in. Boom, it's hooked. You see? And if I wanted to do a finish to finish relationship, you guys have read about this. Let's do a finish to finish relationship with task 26. And all I do is 26, finish to finish. Boom. You can see the finish to finish relationship. If I want to make it a 1-day task instead, I can do that. 2-day task. It's that easy to change when you know what you're doing, though. When you know what you're doing. Okay. And there are all sorts of parameters which you do need to learn about, that's for sure, before dabbling into MS Project. But as far as those relationship types that you read about, that you learn about, there they are. Let's do a start to start one on 27 and 28. 27 start to start. Boom. That easy. That easy, you see. And even if you wanted to do a start to finish, you just type in a 28, start to finish. It's as simple as that, you see. So the logic of project management is so well built into it, you know. Plus the ability to assign resources to this. So if I wanted to assign a resource to this, it's as simple as assigning resources with a right click and assign resources. And you know, I could click my control button and just select multiple resources and boom. And you see those resources immediately. You see, the thing about Microsoft Project is people often make it more complicated than it needs to be. Just keep it tailored to whatever you need. If you don't need the fancy resources, the resource view, don't use it. If you don't need to add resources, don't use it. If your predecessors are pretty much going to be a finish to start relationship, fine. If you don't need cost, don't use it. But it's got the whole kit and caboodle. I mean, up to the point of using your actual start, actual finish, you know, late start, late finish, or I should say actual finish, actual start. Those are very specific terms, but I was talking more about actual cost. I was getting carried away here. I meant your ACWP, you know, ACWP like in earned value, or if you wanted your BCWP, just look for your BCWP, your budgeted cost of work performed, or budgeted cost of work scheduled. You know, BCWS is planned value, BCWP is earned value. So I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things you could do with Microsoft Project. Highly advise it. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I promise you I do not own Microsoft shares yet. Maybe one day I might. Who knows what I'll do when I actually own shares. I'll be selling it to the ends of the earth. But jokes apart, Microsoft Project, phenomenal tool. Highly advise it. All right, now let's move into some of these estimates. So there's a number of things that you guys may have seen in the PMBOK guide regarding estimating. I just want to touch on a few of these. So I mentioned the term bottom-up estimating. Well, let me show you a visualization of that. So bottom-up estimate will go down to the granular levels of materials, supplies, equipment, labor rates, multiply that by labor hours and all that. But ultimately, you'll get to the point where you have for each line item an estimate. And that's going down to the granular level. So we've got equipment cost, we've got other costs, we've got total labor cost, you see. The same for every component here. Every component, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, going down to granular levels, and ultimately you're going to roll all of those up to a final total amount. And that is how we do our bottom-up cost estimating. Now, showing you overall what a cost estimate would look like, similar image, but you can see that here we have included some additional types of cost. And the bottom line is to identify all the costs needed for that WBS ID, work package. It could be at a high level, it could be going down to the task level, whatever it is, you know. You want people to understand the range, the confidence level on a scale, whatever that looks like in your firm. But the bottom line is you really want to spend time intentionally thinking about how much each activity or each work package, or even going up to the higher control accounts, how much each one will cost. There is no WBS police saying you must go down to the work package level and don't use a control account. No. Not at all. That's why we have analogous estimating, which gives us the cost at a high level, and it's up to the PM to fit that into the higher levels, to the control account levels. That's really what that's all about. Okay? And that is pretty much it when it comes to cost management. So whether you are using a fancy Excel sheet or whether you are using Microsoft Project, whatever you choose to do, whatever you choose to use, my advice to you would be to decide ahead of time, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to use, this is how we're going to do it, okay? And like I said, Excel, believe it or not, is a tool that I have seen used a lot. I've seen it used a whole lot in firms, so don't think it's strange if, for one reason or another, your firm has decided to use Excel, because even when I used earned value management in a lot of these firms, what I realized is that we would still go back to Excel. Even though we had legacy applications and fancy apps, we would still take all that stuff back and put it into Excel, And now we have Power BI. My buddy Colin is a guru in terms of Power BI, and Power BI is used for a lot of reporting, a lot of representation of data. But I'll just say use whatever you see fit, okay? Use whatever you see fit. If Microsoft Project works for you, use it. But I can almost guarantee that Excel will likely come up in discussion, because Excel is great with the formulas and the manipulation, and maybe use smart sheets. That's also another one that you can use, okay? So I hope this has helped you, my friends. Again, this is all going back to the mothership, but remember that hybridization is the way forward. Not just plan-driven or agile, but the melding of the minds when it comes to these different approaches is very important, okay? I hope that helps you, and thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session. I am in high demand today. See you in our next session. Bye for now.